Shenanigans. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dire Bear Adventuring Company's Wednesday presentation of Binary Heroes Brobots. And I'm just doing that now just because Maddie's like, I don't like that name.
Hate that name.
All right. We are, that's fine. You'll get over it. This video is unavailable. Error. Love that.
Oh, you too.
Yeah, okay. Are you sure you're broadcasting?
Your microphone's muted.
Yeah.
I am muted. Sorry, it's because I was coughing.
It's all right.
I think
We're
it's
getting
going.
video unavailable. It's not a Dire Bear if it's not some audio issue or some issue somewhere.
That's true. It's live now.
You seem to
for
be going
me.
on YouTube though.
There we go.
It's going.
All right.
Jason, where that hat's sitting, it still makes it look like you're still wearing the hat.
Who says he isn't?
Just where you've got it positioned behind you.
All right, we'll try that again now. Hey, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Wednesday's presentation of Binary Heroes. I still love looking at the thing where it says my name is Overlord. Anyways, with us as always, we have the magnificent Maddie, the wonderful V, the phantasmagorical Atlas, and the I still doesn't know why he's here, Jason. At some point in time, he's going to catch on that we're not all right in the head. Or maybe he fits in perfectly. Welcome, everyone. Last time we left off with them heading topside to the city, doing some investigation around Terminus, finding an old crotchety collector, realizing that their NTP servers may have not been connected for some time, as they are not just a few years off, but 200 years since they last interacted with humans. They were decommed a long time ago. And now we're dealing with the situation of they've got some data trying to find the missing, known as the Creator. They have some data that realizes that people or robots are not doing some unsavory things with regards to the melding of human and robot. And when we left them last, they were gathered in a rental office space, charging unit bay, and they were looking over the data, sharing it from one person to the next. Horrific images of people being used for experimentation that really just goes against the nature of robot and humans alike. And that's where we'll pick up tonight's episode of Binary Heroes. You've passed the disc amongst yourselves. You've seen what's on there. What are you going to do with this newfound knowledge?
Are the files dated?
They do have timestamps. You might be able to find some more information on them, like origin, source, things like that. But
I'm looking for, how old are they?
Brains, and since you are splicing a file or trying to hack something, you do get your additional bonus. So go ahead and give me your total for your check. As he whips out the character sheet.
As I flip back to the right campaign.
Notes.
All right. Brains of 5. Maintenance
Times-
focus 2.
So 5 times your
Monster unit
firmware.
2.
So you're at 5 times your firmware of 3 is at 15. So plus your focus of 2 gives you a total of 17.
Plus my 2 for my splicer unit.
So total of 19? Or is that total of 17? Okay, total of 19.
Yeah, 19.
Okay. As you are poring over the data, you are able to uncover some information. These have been scrubbed pretty clean. You do not know their origin source. They are variously dated over the last, probably say, 40 or 50 years. Some of them are older, but you can definitely tell the quality as they've been degraded. And the oldest one does date back to just before your decom time, or I mean, excuse me, right around the time of your decom. So about 200 years, maybe a little bit less.
So it's been an
Not much.
ongoing thing.
This isn't something new, and you can see though through the course of the photos and the files and everything, that while they have gotten a little bit better, the progress on this isn't as advanced as they would probably like it to be if you were in their shoes. I'm sure, given the R&D nature of who you are.
Hmm hmm
He looks at this, throws the file. Amateur work.
Well, what they're trying to do is disgusting, but they're also not doing a very good job of it, which is disturbing in its own.
First of all, gross. Second of all, there's a more efficient way.
Hmm
Not only is this unethical, it's just bad science.
I mean, really? Really? That doesn't go there at all. Like, what made you want to connect those two things?
Clearly, the neural synapses should be connected near the end of the spinal cord, and here they are trying to plug it directly into the amygdala. Absolute amateur work.
Unless their goal was to have them all doing the wave every once in a while.
Whee!
Do the test subjects look like they volunteered? Or is there a lot of screaming and tugging on chains? Okay.
They are under duress. They are more than a bit reticent to have these experiments carried out on them.
That's the nice way of saying they don't like it.
Yes, you fear that they did not acquiesce to the requests that were placed upon
They did
them.
not sign the correct consent forms.
I did not sign up for this. All right.
Now, is it all the same upgrade, or is it a variety of upgrades they're trying?
Different things here and there.
Okay.
You can see that some are focused on augmenting the brain. Some are like fusing the brain and aperture together, so there's like our armatures together, so you can see like, something is spliced into the like a metal spine that sits on the outside that's attached to metal arms, and that doesn't seem to go as well as we would hope.
Does it seem to be robots or humans are in charge of this?
Definitely robo-centric.
Would Zachary know of any reason they would want to do this?
No,
I mean, there's
No.
bound to be a point to it. But
I'm sure there is, but not one that he's aware of. I mean, your specialty was improving robots and their longevity, not the integration of human, and they're such frail and quickly decaying things. Not sure
So that
why
seems
they would want
pointless.
to even do that. Does anybody else have any questions concerning the files that you found? Because it's more than just images and video. There's actually like memos, what appears to be, for lack of a better way of saying it, journal, like scientific journal entries. You can tell where they were doing experiments, test subjects, control group, things like that.
Jackson's pissed as fuck. Wait, that's not his fucking name. Romeo. Hey, sorry. I mixed up my robot.
You relapsed.
I
You
mixed
relapsed
up
to
my
me.
robot OCs.
What's
Yeah.
even funnier was my brain went back to Alone in the Void. I thought you were like Jackson's like, wait, no, that's my character. Wait a minute.
Yeah, no, Romeo's pissed as fuck. Because this is like the exact shit he was like. It's the shit that killed his best friend. Let's put it that way. It's not great.
No, it's not ideal.
It's not ideal in the way that Romeo's got his sniper rifle off his back and he's just sort of like.
He's sitting at the top of the building just aiming at other robots. I bet you were involved.
Yeah.
Just a crack.
This motherfucker. No, but I mean, like, all jokes aside, he is very unhappy. This is definitely, like, I mean, his whole thing is, like, he's got morality circuits. Woo, which make him into a good robot. But honestly, like right now, he just wants to commit murder because this is the shit that killed the one person who was ever like nice. To
You're
him.
incensed by this situation.
To say the least, yes.
Ghost?
Can we tell what company's involved?
No. Well, actually, no, I'll take that back. Last week we had a discovery that there is a pretty much like the Walmart brand of, or like there is one brand that actually puts out all of the major player in all the robot parts. There are a lot of those being moved through these images.
Okay.
They're all stamped with those. Now, you don't know if that's just because it's abundant or if it's because they're involved, but a lot of the stuff that you see is stamped with their logo on it.
Okay.
Was there any like indication? Did it just show like people being worked on, or was there some sort of like visual representation of the robots that were working on them?
Most of it was set to obscure enough to where you weren't able to make out the details of any one particular unit.
Okay.
It was more focused on the application of this pseudoscience, quasi pseudoscience thing that they're doing.
Okay. Disgusting.
Bish disgusting.
Disgusting. Yeah, Ghost
Yeah.
is like oddly indifferent about it, but also like, no, that's not allowed. That needs to
That's
stop,
bad.
and I'm gonna stop it with all four of my fists.
He just leaves the room and then doesn't know where else to go. Oh!
Yeah, basically.
Comes back in slowly. Where are we going?
Kind of, actually. That would make sense.
I'm so angry.
Don't know what to do about it, but I sure am angry.
I'm sure gonna punch
I
something
just imagine
later.
it was from the How to Train Your Dragons, the first one. Like, I'm so mad at these dragons. I'm just gonna, just punch him in the face. Get vengeance for your arm and your leg. So,
Rip. Yeah, no, Romeo's ready to go kick some ass. Who else is ready to go literally murder people? Because
Let's not be
morals
hasty.
Be damned.
Ghost is like
You-
all four arms.
You shut your mouth, Mr. Science.
Ghost just goes, just all four arms.
Who's got 4 thumbs ready to kick some ass? This guy.
All right. Any other questions that you guys might have for me? You have those files on you, unless you want to do something else with them.
Yes. How fast to the nearest murder?
Outside,
Can
depending
we-
on what you want to do.
Fantastic.
Just walk outside, find a random passerby, and just beat the ever-living garbage out of them.
Like, rip.
Romeo, are you serious about murdering people?
I'm ready to murder some bots if they just. If we find anyone who is complicit in this, there is absolutely nothing any of you can do to stop me from killing them. I need you to understand that right off the bat.
Okay.
I mean, Ghost
Um,
won't stop him, to be honest.
Can
Just
can
won't.
But
we
Ghost
make,
could.
Can we make a deal instead?
Well, it depends on the deal, but the answer's probably gonna be no, unless the deal is, of course, you also want a couple of punches, because then, yeah, sure, absolutely, I can share.
No, I am more looking for
Karate chop.
allowing us to get information first before you just start indiscriminately killing those involved.
If you can get to them before I do, then you absolutely can have run-of-the-mill Miss Chatty Pants. But if I see the motherfucker, I will kill the motherfucker. Are we clear?
Wait, just a question. I thought Romeo's gun was non-lethal. I thought it was just to put out
Oh, it
fires.
isn't lethal, but he can make it lethal.
I think it depends on the ammo he puts in it.
It is true.
Yeah. He's pretty much rigged it up that it can't take normal ammo anymore. Also, he has little to no combat skill left, but like, he still knows how to hurt a bitch. Cause
I'm just picturing Romeo like screaming at a robot and like shooting like non-lethal rounds at this person while they're on
they're
the
just,
ground
like,
being
getting hit
covered.
in the face.
Getting hit with a rubber bullet still fucking hurts. I'm
Yeah,
just
but like,
saying.
well, yeah, but isn't
And
it
they're
like,
like tiny canisters. They're tiny canisters that are meant to explode on contact that release like pressurized foam, like the kind of stuff you'd have in a fire extinguisher.
Mm.
Because he's sniping fires is what he usually does.
You've
But if
seen
one of
the
those canisters hit you somewhere and began to expand, like especially within
no.
the chassis of like a robot's body,
which
that would fuck you up.
I forgot what chemical it is, but it makes that foam that hardens on contact with air, but it continues to grow.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's just that because it just like and you're encased
Yeah.
in this hard foam.
well, I mean, if somebody starts running, that's the easiest way to capture them, I guess.
There you go.
I'm
Just gotta get creative.
Romeo. I'm asking for 2 minutes.
You can
Before-
have a minute and a half.
Fair enough. You give me a
See-
minute and a half before you start killing them.
Sounds fine to me then. I'll
The thing
take
is that
bargain.
we're all humans playing robots who are acting like humans. You kneecap a human, it hurts. They scream out in pain because we have pain receptors. You kneecap a robot, it doesn't hurt them, but they contemplate the repair time, the cost with that, and things like that. However, if you had somebody who had R&D that could say, I don't know, connect a simulated pain receptor,
Do we have one of
Hmm.
those?
somebody who had some research and R&D and improving robotic lives.
That doesn't sound like an improvement.
No,
It's like
but it
that
does sound like
episode
something that he
of
might be able to do.
Teenage Robot.
But would he be willing to do it?
That's a better question.
Does it go against the Hippocratic Oath, but for robots? The Hippocalculator Oath? I don't know.
What if it's under police supervision?
You're not a cop anymore.
You are no longer a part of the oppressors. Rejoice, good friend.
We are essentially non-citizens running around.
Yeah. We're all a
The
bunch
only thing that
of
tells you that you have real
fools.
lives are the upgrades that you implanted.
True. I may not be
fake
part of the
IDs.
police force, but I look like I'm part of the police force. So
This is true. Yeah, I'm on the
Matt-
Brood Squad. You are the Brood Squad.
I'm the new squad. Sorry about it. I fixed it.
Okay. What is your next move? You have this information, but you don't know where to start looking for it.
Now, we had found hints that the creator was being held by these people, I think. Or being held by that company.
Yeah, it had something to do with missing people. You had asked the old robot to look into that. He was curious about what you were looking for, and he gathered the information that he had and gave it to you. So,
So him trying to look into where the creator was came up with this stuff. The only
affirmative.
hint we've got out of this stuff as to where it's coming from is that company.
Affirmative.
Okay.
This worries me.
And that company had an office around here, didn't? I think we had to check that, hadn't we?
Affirmative.
What was the company's name?
Did I give you the company's name?
No, you just said that they were like a mass retailer.
A mass Walmart, but for robots.
Wallbots. Okay. Moving on.
No. No.
Ha!
Oh, come on. We'll split up the two L's. We won't get sued.
No.
It's your
Alright.
fault he's added robots to this fucking thing. Stop it.
I like robots.
I cannot.
I blame you.
Robots is a good time.
Is it though? Is it really?
Yeah.
Sorbin Tech. Sorry, I had to find my notes. Sorbin. Sorbin Tech. Tech. Sorbin Tech.
So we're gonna go pay a friendly visit to Sorbentech?
Sure,
To
friendly.
the local Sorbentech office.
It's the equivalent of just showing up at Walmart being like, all right, who's ready for an ass kicking?
No, you're showing up to like the showroom of a car store, but like, or like a wheel and tire shop where they have all the nice rims. Because they're not selling you the car, just all the other parts. So they're not selling you the whole robot, just the parts that go with it. And then walking up to the front desk manager, dragging him over the desk, punching him in the face, and holding him up to the rim. Whose rim is this? It's mine. Oh no. Yes, there is a local office if you would like to pay a visit, whether that be nonchalant or with force.
Yes, a visit.
Or I should say, nonchalant with those two, and then, or with force with those two. So,
Let's do it.
what are you doing? Tell me.
Oh, we're going. Or Romeo's
that-
going. I don't care what y'all are doing.
So the two of you. So you are going. Ghost, are you heading with?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
like, Ghost is like, I'll help make sure to beat people up, but also not escalate things way too much. I mean,
Pussy.
break his finger so he can't ring the alarm.
yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
We'll just snap his wrist, like the robot wrist back.
Just tears the arm off.
He's like,
This yours?
I meant to break the wrist. I took the arm.
Their madness.
He's like sitting there like,
Their madness.
aggressive sensors are just a little high. Might need a
All right.
tuning.
You two head out the door. Those two are leaving, heading somewhere. And I'm sure they were discussing this openly, so you know that they're heading to the
Just
nearest
like a conversation across
Sorbent
the two
office.
of
Are
you.
you ready?
Adela, are they really just going to walk up to the nearest store and start roughing up the workers?
Yes.
He's not wrong.
Anarchy, my man. Actually, we're gonna ask to speak to their manager.
Do we need to
You don't
pick
have
up
the proper
a
haircut for
I
that.
was about to say, do we need
Damn
to
it,
pick
I
up
need
mom
my haircut
upgrades?
Pick up
Wait,
the mom
let me
upgrades.
get my long earrings, bootcut jeans, and children named McKaylee and Tyson.
Now, is it just a storefront they've got locally, or is it a like corporate office?
It's more of a storefront. So you're going to be talking to like the manager, maybe the general manager, or even the regional manager.
Dun dun dun.
You can escalate this all the way up to here.
No, we'll probably start up and then we'll stop wherever their security guys show up.
True. Adela, are you going to watch them go?
She's going to follow and hope to God there's absolutely no connection here because we just got back topside. She really doesn't want to get hunted again.
All right. The three of them are, well, the first of all, the two who are focused in their actions zip out the door with a bit of a sigh and a shrug. I think Zachary is heading out behind them, looks to you and goes,
Did we charge at all?
yeah,
That was kind of the whole point of us coming in here to begin with.
you did.
Okay.
You are heading out the door, and door closes behind you as you try to catch up with them. You watch as a well-dressed, I say well-dressed, a well-defined unit walks up to you and smiles and nods his head in a friendly manner. And as you go by, he reaches out and touches your shoulder, and there's a little jolt.
Zink.
There's like this spark between them.
He doesn't look back. He just continues to walk.
Well, that's suspicious. That's a thing that creepy people do.
Whose shoulder was that on, Cap? Sorry?
Yours. Ewan's.
You-
Like you were walking past one another, and as you did, he just reached out and tap and like touched your shoulder. And there was a bit of a like a spark, a little jolt that ran through. And then he continued past you without any further, looking nonchalant like he didn't do anything.
I'm going to turn around and follow him. As nonchalantly as he is walking. Make it look like I had forgotten something back in where I just came out of.
He gets to the staircase at the end of the hallway, puts his hand on the door and stops and says, "Don't worry, we'll talk soon. Catch up to you, friends." And he pushes open the door and does not go down, he goes up. You watch as he goes up the staircase and the door closes. With a heavy clink, and you can hear the bar on the door pop. At the other end of the hallway, you hear the very familiar ding of the elevator.
Okay, well, I'm going to go catch up to them. I'm sure that's, difficult.
Yeah. Ghost is trying
Find
to
the
scramble.
tallest guy in the crowd. That's probably Ghost.
Probably.
Not too hard
You
to
would not be wrong.
Choose-
All right,
I
on the
didn't
elevator
choose my
ride
heights.
down. The nearest Sorbin office or Sorbin Tech office is probably a couple of miles away, but easy enough for you guys to get through. The walk takes you, probably about 40 minutes, I guess. I would say probably 40, 50 minutes at all. When you arrive, it is a showroom, and you can see they have cases set up with different armature, or you can see different face plates, the newest in technology, and it shows articulation and things like that. It's when I said it's a showroom, it literally is. It's a showroom of parts, promising to be compatible with all models. One arm fits all, one fits, everything. And it's not kitschy, it's not cheap, it's not Walmart. It's more like walking into Tag Heuer. Like you're looking at watches, like expensive watches and things like that.
Nice.
As you're walking, a very well defined, and you can see there's lots of articulation in his face. Unit walks up, a service bot. Kind of gives you a little bit of a sweeping like nod of the head.
As
Good
soon as we
afternoon.
walk in, I split off from these two, so it doesn't look like I'm with them.
Make your way over to the other side.
They're going to cause a distraction. That's what I need.
The very nice robot looks at the two of you, Romeo and Ghost, and in a little bit of a lilting, definitely an aftermarket production, says, "Well, hello, how can I help you?"
Who's in charge here?
Is there a complaint that you would like to lodge about a part?
Oh,
that we
very
have?
much so.
Oh, I'm
Very much
so sorry to hear your concern. I tell you what, why don't you step to my office and we'll put an RMA in for that report and do a return to manufacturer's agreement. All right, come
No,
on.
I want to speak directly to whoever's in charge.
Oh, I can see, my friend, that you are a bit put out. Well, I'll tell you what, we promise you that there's the finest. We will do everything we can to take care of whatever it is that might be troubling you. Are you sure you wouldn't like to tell me what it is, and then I could relay that message to my manager, and we can then have that conversation.
Absolutely not. Listen, I'm sure you do your job great, and I'm sure that you are just another retail employee complicit in corporate greed. However, what I'm going to speak to your manager about is nothing related to you or your job performance. You're going to be fine. I'll even leave you a 10-star survey. However, if I don't get to speak to your manager, there will be a problem.
All right then, hold on. He goes up to the front, and now as you lay eyes, you can see that all of the robots who are doing the service, much like a uniform, all look the same. The only difference is, as you're listening to them, you can hear different voices. He goes to a robot who does look different than him. Motions to you, shrugs, seems to be talking. comes back over with the other robot in tow, who is would be a female version. I mean, they are robots, so there's not really, but I guess it's a
Aesthetically
throwback to.
speaking.
But right, it's a throwback to the human eras. That I guess some of the things they still haven't gotten rid of. But she walks over and gives you kind of one of those sweeping nods of the head. How may I be of service?
Are you the most senior member here?
I am.
Fantastic. Okay. Didn't think I'd get this far. This is Cal speaking. And now I don't know what to do.
While this has been going on, Zachary is walking around like he's looking at the place, but I'm trying to find an area where I can access their system without it being just kind of obvious. I don't know if my splicer kit works via Wi-Fi or how it works, but
It's basically you jacking into a system. So imagine
Yeah.
it like a technological version of a lockpick.
so either out on the sales floor, if I can get to the back room without anybody noticing. Like I said, they're probably causing some distraction. So
There is a commotion. You can see that they have drawn the attention of at least the manager, and that leaves the front counter open, which there is a terminal there.
Also, I'm going to punch the manager. So that should help.
that's kind of what I was counting on, truthfully.
That's what I think.
So you're punching
Yeah.
this
I'm
poor
just here to referee, to be honest. let's
service
be
bot.
real.
Are you the most senior person here? Yes.
Are you the most senior person here? Yes, I am. Great.
The
So,
part of me that works retail feels
Just
awful,
fist.
but also it's robots, so it's fine.
what's your combat?
2.
Not great.
You're gonna like go to punch this robot, and she's gonna take like no damage. She's just gonna be like,
Well,
It's just gonna be like, and she's just gonna be like, yeah.
that's not how you punch. This
Well,
is how you
sure.
punch.
She'll stand there for a second trying to figure out if that was like an insulting slap or was supposed to be an attack.
Was that a roll for initiative attack, or I failed my dex save attack?
that was it's your combat is a 2. Okay. Nope. I got this. And your service bot, which leans toward what?
Not combat.
Bronze. I don't remember. I think it's bravery.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I have a little note there that says +2, so I don't know if that's.
All right. So this is definitely a brawn. This is definitely a brawn. So your brawn is a 2 times your firmware, so your total is a 6.
6. Yay! That's slightly better.
You haul back with your Romeo 6 arm and swing out, and there is a sound of clank. She turns her
I
head and
would-
looks at you and says, "Go ahead."
I would like to invoke my own handicap and say that as Romeo does this, he freezes because he has a circuit that trips sometimes that causes his entire body to freeze completely.
It's
Until
just it's
someone
just a
breaks
bum
one.
shoulder joint.
It's literally, he's got like
It's-
a bad shoulder.
It's like it's got a torn rotator cuff that he's never replaced, and
Yup.
so this motion is just stops before it hits
And
her. He's like,
"Boom." And
You
he's
get that
stuck
fixed.
like that. He can't move.
"See, this is what I'm complaining about. This arm, it doesn't see it's stuck."
I need a new one. You need to send this one back to the manufacturer. I haven't seen that arm model in 400 years. What the?
You go to swing at her. You see there is a look of shock and appalledness on the face of these two service bots, who are like, "We haven't even heard your complaint yet. What is your problem? Is there certain thing we can help you with?"
I'm gonna say that since Romeo, like, I don't think a voice box would be anything physical in a robot the way it is in a human. So he probably is just like, this didn't go as planned. I have a problem with your higher ups, or at least there's some weird shit going on, and you all need to stop doing what you're doing to humans immediately. And that's really all I can say, because right now I can't run away, and I'm afraid if I say anything else, something terrible is gonna happen to me. And frankly, honestly, that would be fine. I really wouldn't, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I've lived a good long life. Actually, it's been a pretty shitty life, but it's been long at least, so, I've got that.
I think Sorry, go.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think at this point, Ghost is like, I thought we had a plan. We did not have a plan.
Zachary had a plan.
She takes her hands like this, and she goes, "Was this an attempt to strike me?"
Yeah, ish.
Cap,
No.
have I caught up with them at this point?
You're walking in to see. Actually, you were there on the elevator with them, so you've watched this
Okay,
whole
so
thing happen.
Ghost is just
I
getting
really
ready.
wanted to see. I really wanted to see where this was going.
Apparently, to about here.
We stopped a little short.
Adela's going to just step up and just gently disentangle Romeo's arm from this lady's hands.
No, the fist is like up here in the air, like swinging at her. She's like,
Like,
"What the fuck is
Yeah,
this?"
I'm just gently gonna pull it down.
Okay.
We have some concerns. As
yeah, no dir.
I'm gonna pick
Romeo,
up Romeo and
I
move
think
him
you've
away.
done enough.
He just literally just body him up off the ground and moves away with it.
Romeo, I think you've done enough.
I can just hear Romeo in the background. Yeah, you're lucky my friend's dragging me off. That's right. Keep me off of him. Keep me off of him, Ghost.
Ghost is just like shaking his head, like,
Just talking shit the whole way.
where do I even take him? Do I leave him in the front of the store? Outside the store?
Adela, what would you like to say to the manager?
So, we have some concerns. We are, as you saw, we have somebody who's slightly eccentric.
Is that me? Am I the eccentric? That's kind of a rude
You're
way
outside,
to
be
refer to
quiet.
someone.
You're outside, be quiet.
On top of that, there are some this is the company that made the parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this was the company that we've assumed is associated with the cyborg?
You've seen their parts being used in those experiments.
Okay.
Pretty much exclusively, right?
Yeah.
We're investigating a rather deep concern to our own companies in regards to how some of your parts are being used.
Please explain further.
You know, as well as the rest of us, that in some cases the melding of human and robot is acceptable, but it's never to the point where the robot parts would be taking over the human part. The human would always be more than 50% human.
The law dictates that to extend the
Exactly.
human life, robotics can be used, but never to assume that life.
Exactly.
Are you inferring that my store had something to do with the possible assumption and consumption of human life?
Not your store per se. We're looking more for a specific set of information. Would I be able to, like, just take screenshots of those videos to show her without having to give her the videos themselves?
Yeah, I'll say you can take. There are stills that you can use that you can send as files, like send copies to her as files.
Okay.
It's not all video. There are stills in there as well.
Yeah, but she only wants to show her specific things. Like, there's no reason for her to have all the information.
Right on.
So that's what she's going to do. She's going to separate certain stuff that she wants to send her, specifically the stuff in regards to the company's gear, the company's manufactured parts being used.
Showing up on there. I got you.
And then she will share it with them.
Okay. Banged my hand on my desk. It hurt.
Ow.
File transfer allowed. She takes a moment to scan what you have. She looks at you and says, "This is most disheartening."
To say the least.
We should probably discuss this with someone at a
Is
higher
there-
level.
Someone from
Yes.
corporate.
Is there somebody from corporate that we can talk to?
Not here presently, but there are many who would be concerned with this.
Would you be so kind as to facilitate the meeting for us?
Certainly. Now, while this conversation is going on, because the next step is going to have her turning around. So while that conversation and all of this action has been going on, you have been hacking into their computer there at that location. What are you looking for?
I am looking for any information they have, anything they have on this. I'm looking at security cameras to see if there's anywhere, to see if they could be holding the creator
Mhm.
here in this facility.
Everything that you can see within this facility seems to be legit. It is just simply a warehouse on the A section of the upper city. There's nothing in there. She runs everything exactly as it's supposed to be. She's very robotic about the whole thing, to say lack of a better way of saying it.
When Della starts going, can I show you something? I start keeping up with ingoing and outgoing traffic to see if she's triggering, see if the manager triggers some kind of alarm when she sees the pictures.
And we've discussed your computer is 19 overall, right? Okay. You do see a flare in activity as an FTP is hit to, or excuse me, a file transfer is hit up and then back down, and so it's her downloading the file from an up spot. There is a brief pause, and there's no change in the traffic beyond that.
Okay. Then when she starts talking about going to the office or whatever, I'll disengage and
All right.
just be standing close to the counter like I was watching this whole scene unfold, because
Sure.
it's somebody yelling and screaming in a store.
Somebody causing a scene.
Yeah. And when everything calms down, I go back to perusing like everybody else.
Sure. You disengage just as she motions towards the counter, and you are off from the scene as Adela is led over. She brings together a memo, a quickly written and worded email that she sends off, file transferred out. There is a brief pause, and almost immediately, their response. It has some bits of information. Your information was concerning. Please have interested parties, plus yourself, meet at Terminus City Center B12. Terminus City Center B12. So one ring in and a few over. A few plates over. We'll be arriving at 2200 hours. So 10 o'clock p.m.
And that's code for they're gonna fucking kill us.
Well,
It
not
is
Zachary.
signed
He wasn't
with
with y'all.
It is signed as a security officer. And the security officer's name is Valant. Like Valiant, but without the I, so Valant. V-A-L-A-N-T.
Is that David's first day?
It is.
And what time is it now?
It is currently 16, just about 4:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. How long would it take us to get over there?
6 hours? 5 hours? No, that seems like a lot.
No, it's not gonna take you that long. To get back to the terminal, probably take you about an hour and a half, and then the train ride over there is pretty quick, so you're looking at like maybe half an hour. So let's say 2 hours to get to Terminus B,
We
or
could case
Terminus
the
City Center
area.
B.
You said 2.5 hours?
2 hours.
2 hours.
And it gives you plenty of time to do exactly that if you wanted to.
Okay.
We could case the area. Also, is it Romeo's like frozen state? Is there something I could do to help that, or is it just gonna let go at some
I
point?
think when Adela grabbed him and jimmied his shoulder, he's unfrozen probably.
I think of it more as like an actuator. I used to have this old 1964 Chevy pickup truck. It had a 3 in the tree, so it was a stick shift, but it was in the tree. And between second and third, it would get locked, and you have to open the gearbox and like hammer the gears back down,
Yikes.
and then close the gearbox, which is really fun. Luckily, I lived in Hartselle at the time, so it was really not that big of a deal. Small town, not much going on.
Little
If I had to
town.
coast to the bottom of a hill right by Bud Weaver Road, it was fine. I could just coast down.
Nice.
So, any other questions you would like to ask of this manager?
Adela
Is
doesn't
your
have any.
bathroom open for public use?
Or do we need to buy something?
Yes to both of those.
Um,
Now what? Now what? Your move. I did go to the bathroom. Oh, yeah, I guess so. All right, enjoy. Any other questions that you would like to ask?
Adela doesn't have any. But she is very apologetic about Romeo's attempt at aggression, and absolutely apologizes for it for him because she knows he won't.
Yep. Fuck that noise.
And then thanks her for all of her assistance. Basically, as one service bot to another.
You are quite welcome. However, I am to accompany you tonight. Because it did say her as well.
We will meet you there. We have a few other places that we need to look into in regards to these allegations, and I wouldn't want to see you more involved than you already are.
What is our authority here? Like, why
Understood.
does
Shut up!
So we're babysitting?
No, I mean, like, why is anyone listening to us? Like,
Well, they think we're with another company or group of companies.
oh, okay, well, alright.
Also, because instead of going in fists first, I come in with a calm, polite demeanor, and you'd be
like,
surprised
that's
how
ever
much that
worked.
works, you know?
It's like she's
Sure.
done negotiating for a living or something.
Like I did this and was created for this purpose.
All right. Is everybody leaving the area then? Vacating the store, the scene of the near crime. All right.
Scene of attempted
I'll leave
crime.
a few minutes after everybody else.
Sure thing. Adela.
Yeah, and she kind of glanced, like when she gets back down to the level of the elevator they're supposed to get, she looks at the door again, and then doesn't say anything. She's definitely going to keep an eye out for this gentleman that touched her shoulder.
Oh, so you guys are going back up
Scandalous.
to the room that you guys had, the meeting room that you had rented?
Is that what we're doing?
Because
No,
you
I
had went
think-
down, you left that, As you left that room and that office complex is where he did that.
Oh,
And you guys
okay.
traveled across the city for a few miles to get there, so he's long gone from whatever you were at.
Never mind then. She just looked in that direction.
No problem. It actually brings up the reason that I said Adela. There is a crackle, as though comms were being initiated. Keep walking. Keep looking normal. Excellent. Quite well done in there, I must say. Listen to me. You do realize you're walking into a trap, I hope.
She's gonna reach out and just lightly touch Ghost.
No,
And
he
just-
can't hear me.
He's just like,
She's going to reach out to Ghost as if she was like just brushing something off of his uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But doing that, she's going to attempt to silently bring him into the conversation. Basically, just add him as a listener.
Ghost's head is just like moving up and
Ghost.
just like a blank slate, like moving down towards the hand, moving up
Yeah,
towards
she's-
Adela, down,
She's
up.
trying to make it look as normal as possible, just like maybe she saw something on his shirt that needed to be brushed off, you know? Make him look
Except
presentable
he's
since
just
we're going to a
metal.
meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not wearing a shirt.
You know, well, whatever, okay?
Listen.
The voice cracks over again. Ooh, nicely done. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Nice try, though. So, you do know you're stepping into a trap? Don't worry, you don't have to respond. You and I both know what you're doing. It's quite a bit of information that Pod 91 gave you. It's an interesting thing that he gathered all of that up so quickly, almost as though he had it lying around and was looking to foist it upon someone unsuspecting, or maybe someone who had drug themselves in the way, or I guess in your case particularly, had themselves drug into the way of this oncoming train wreck. Your friend almost made a mess of things. Luckily, his servo froze up before he could swing that fist all the way around. Otherwise, it might have gone completely different, and I would be speaking to you from inside of a dampened room. Not dampened as in wet, but dampened as in communications dampened.
The police room, where the police
So-
live.
I am not affiliated with anyone that you've come into contact with so far, save for one individual. I have concerns of what they're doing to him as well. You seem to be one of the two most level-headed. However, the other one seems to be out for more of his own, which I can't fault him for that. So, I will.
You should all head on towards the terminus. I will catch up with you. I think I've forgot something back in the room. Be right back.
My other shoe. You're not wearing shoes. I'll be right back.
Don't worry about it.
She doesn't have to tell them what she's going for. She says she's forgotten something in the room. She's going back for it, and then she will meet them at the terminus.
That's true. Were we even heading towards the
Forgot my
terminus?
titties.
I forget.
What could she have forgotten? We don't own anything.
Your big box of stuff.
Did she forget to steal the shampoo? No, kidding.
She just takes all the charging ports out of the wall.
Rips them from the wall. These are mine.
Look, guys!
I got those for us. We're just like,
That's not how those work.
what?
And then she's going to head back towards there.
Honestly, would Ghost
And then
think this
she's
is
going
suspicious
to
behavior?
she's going to bring her hand up
Mhm.
as if she's talking to somebody in a Bluetooth earpiece,
Mhm.
and then she can actually talk back.
You could have talked back the whole time. But
I
it's another
could have,
way of
but everybody else would have looked at me
affectation.
weird.
So,
And
mhm.
I'm supposed to trust you. Why?
Well, because so far I have not killed you for the information that you have, nor do I pose it. I can help, though. You may call me I do like Cloak and Dagger so much. Call me Shadow. That sounds diabolical and yet just vague enough to make you constantly wonder if I'm on your side or not.
Am I dealing with a teenage boy?
No. I'm actually a quite capable robot, thank you very much.
Shadow? Really?
What?
Listen, to each their own.
You walk around with a giant robot called Ghost. And another one called Romeo.
Listen here.
Look, they were former combat bots. I didn't name them.
I was thinking Ghost
Mm,
Recon
true.
Unit, to be honest.
So, for now, that will do. Make the meeting. I'll make sure that no harm comes to you or your allies. Make sure you do bring the disc with you, though. It is important. Let's see if we can't help one another. Get to the bottom of whatever this Mishigosh is.
So far, this seems to be a lot of stuff for me and my companions.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Yes,
in it for
and?
you?
Well,
Nobody ever does anything for free.
true. Let's just say we've currently a mutual interest in finding someone who is missing. I think we all agree that he has a little bit of answer for.
That was the understatement of the year. Very well. Perhaps next time we can meet face to face instead of you invading my comms.
Maybe. Well, Ta. And the crackle once again goes quiet.
I love this asshole.
At which point, she's going to head towards the terminus.
I would have actually liked to see if Ghost would have followed, just because that's just a little suspicious behavior, and I feel like that's something he's probably seen before. Not like right up on her, maybe, but it's just like, why are you going to the room? We have everything.
Oh, I would love to see Ghost try to sneak through a crowd to follow somebody.
Can you do like a brain check to see if you like?
It's almost as funny as the idea of the Nelfeshni from last night. They're like, he runs away stomping. Nope, it goes.
It's like the Fred Flintstone toes and everything.
Exactly.
Ugh.
The tiptoes from Ghost are.
Ghost just shrinks 5 inches because fuck you guys.
But he can't help but make the transformer sound when he does it. I think it's my goal just about every game to see if I can make you spit your drink out.
Listen.
To be fair, it's not much of a challenge. I'm just.
Hey!
Hey! Alright. Following close-ish, you see that Adela stops and puts a hand up to her ear nonchalantly, just like this. And you're. How close are you?
Probably like, I don't know, maybe 3
He's
to
just
4
hiding
feet
around
away.
the corner, just his face out.
No, probably just
all
like
4 hands.
yeah. No, probably like 3 to 4 feet away. Not
yeah,
very...
yeah. Not noticeable at all. That's exactly what I saw Jason with.
Actually, Ghost would have probably just kept walking, and then when he heard her talking, he probably would have started backing up a little bit.
Hang on, there's something backing. Ghost.
Munchie, go lay down. Go lay
Actually, if anything, Ghost's mentality probably would have been like, maybe we shouldn't split up, but heard her talking,
down.
it was just like,
Fine,
oh,
splitting up the party
At
over
least picking up one side of the conversation, you see Ghost who, I'm sorry, buddy, you're not hiding that
no, that's
well.
fine. That's fine.
He's just standing there.
So-
Hello, I am Ghost. Your friendly murderous robot.
You're not wrong.
Like an evil Baymax.
Evil Baymax.
Like when he had the wrong chip inserted.
Yeah.
Except he's a lot less soft. No hugs.
He's not made of vinyl.
No hugs here.
Hugs.
He's not made of vinyl.
I mean, you could get a hug, but he might crack your spine.
Ugh.
What is your pain sensors at? A 10? Now it's
What
at a
kind
20.
of idiot makes a robot you can't hug?
Ghost. Don't hug Ghost. He'll turn
Too
your pain
late.
sensors from a 1 to a 25.
Too late.
There's just the sound of crunching metal.
He's like, ah.
Oh, look at that. We broke him. All right. You're off the comms. Ghost is standing there. The other two have started walking towards Terminus. You realize that Ghost isn't there either.
Where did the big one go? So he's kind of sneaky.
Sneaky.
Unless they turn and they just see him walking.
Probably more like.
Well, Zachary and Romeo were probably, verbally abusing each other as they were walking, so they were oblivious to everything else.
Bonding.
Fuck you.
What were you doing back there, you deplorable dummy?
You lost the big guy. No, you lost the big guy.
It's just an argument over who was supposed to be keeping up with Ghost. I'm not his tender. I'm not his handler.
That was handler.
Keeping up with the ghost.
Ghost doesn't need to be looked after. You need to be looked after. I simply stayed with you.
You need to be looked after. No, you need to be looked after, asshole. No, you.
Real mature.
You guys are doing great. I'm really glad you're friends.
They get along like a bot factory on fire.
It's Felix and Oscar all along.
I'd fix that shoulder for you, but then you might actually hit somebody and get us in real trouble.
Ooh. It's just like
Why I oughta.
But you can't.
I can't tell that. Damn, buddy.
Woo! We're all great friends here.
And then
Yes,
there was
yes.
a murder.
Attempted anyways. He just walks off. You're swinging right here. He comes back with a watering can. He's just
An oily
working on it.
can.
Watering can. He wants to rust him solid
Oh.
right where he's at.
It's gonna be a garden
How's
statue
that
after.
feel, Tin Man?
That's really every time I think of that, I see that. I see Tin Man in my head a little bit when I think of Romeo. Just this big barrel body, long legs, and arms. You all catch up to one another. Back on point now.
Yes.
You.
Ghost, what? I thought you were going to stay with Romeo to make sure he stays out of trouble.
He's with Zachary.
You left those two alone?
What trouble could they get into besides with each other? When you think about it.
Don't challenge us.
They're gonna be so snarky towards each other that they're gonna forget about their surroundings. Probably. Let's be
And
real.
get hit by a bus.
I mean,
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
The sound of somebody kicking an empty garbage can down the street. Clank, 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 clank.
they're both rolling down a hill, fighting each other.
However, we may have a small problem.
Go on.
She is actually just going to turn the recording from their conversation into a small little MP3 file and give it to Ghost.
Just like plugs it into his ear. I feel like that's a good spot for a USB.
Well, it would basically be like the data's at her fingertips, so she reaches just, well, you would have to
It's
lean
the
down a
robot
little
wallet.
bit.
He's just like, oh.
You
Leans
guys
down a
need to
little
learn
bit.
how clouds work. It's file transfer. It's just choop, choop.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't like clouds. Player, hate cloud services. A lot.
Well, you should.
I feel
They're
like
horrible data mining.
They are
things.
useful. Do I want to transmit important data across them? Fuck no.
it'd probably be just a slight.
As a guy who works with cloud services, because that's what runs the PBXs that he works on, I don't take offense to that because I don't really give a shit. All right, so.
But yeah, so she direct transfers it to him.
Alright.
We should.
Because then there's less chance of somebody else getting a hold of it. Okay? It's a security thing. Anyway.
You play it, and you can hear Adela perfectly fine.
Delicious.
The other side of the voice. The other
Okay.
side is.
Are your
Does it play
communication
perfectly
sensors
for me?
offline?
Mm-mm. It does not play perfectly for you either.
No. Sounds like he's masking his transmissions. Well, with that in mind, we have somebody named Shadow following us. He knows we're walking into a trap, and he said that he's going to do whatever he can to make sure that we are not injured or captured.
Shadow's
He's
a good
looking
name.
to find. Shadow's an awful name.
To
Ghost
every
was
cat
really
out there named
smart.
Shadow, they are offended.
Ghost
They're
is a-
cats. They don't care.
Yeah. I don't care about
Cats
my
are
family.
assholes.
They care what's on
Shadow,
my
anybody
pad said about him.
Say anything
Oh.
about you, Sasha. You're not an asshole. Actually, you are a massive asshole, but I still love you. Now, Munchie, you're
Just
also an asshole. Go lay down.
Your cat just got up and said, "Yeah, whatever."
Okay,
Like,
whatever, bye.
Cat just effed off, proving my
Nothing.
point. Cats are assholes.
Love you too. You're welcome for all the food and cleaning your shit up.
Ghost just literally. Your communications are not working. I'm guessing. Or
No, I think it's a dampener. Or a scrambler of some kind.
that also
It was
makes
clear when he
sense.
talked to me. There was no issue.
Is
Which is also probably why I couldn't pull you into the conversation to begin with.
oh, that's why you touched me. Okay, that makes sense. Ghost like the obvious sensors are going off. He's like, oh, I get it now.
That is
He just thought you were being inappropriate.
And then the next thing is underneath it all. You can't see his face because it's a blank slate of
Yeah,
"Hello, darkness, my old friend."
it's just like it's just static across the screen.
Just one single blip of white that rolls down the screen. When he gets sad, is it just like raindrop pixels?
Raindrop effects. I feel like he's got like facial like into the Spider-Verse,
Mm.
like the robot
Yeah.
in there. I feel like
Yeah.
those would
That's
be
what I
like
imagine
his
too.
fucking
Like it's all
face.
like pixelated angry faces and stuff like that. All right, you relay the information.
Yeah, she'll relay the information that she remembers from him.
Does she say that the dude touched her?
She mentions that he had brushed her shoulder.
Can Ghost check that spot just to see if there's anything there? Can you use
Ye-
like
Absolutely can.
I'm gonna say
What is your brains?
now hear me out.
Now listen. Just listen.
Hear me out. Yeah. Yeah.
Checking the shoulder carefully for ghost. You don't seem to see anything on the shoulder.
We should relay this information to Zachary. My intelligence is unfortunately below average, so maybe we should get
No.
somebody with a high average. That or I just take the arm off.
Immediate necessary surgical removal.
Maybe we should and she just kind of like covers her shoulder and just like pulls it back a little bit. Maybe we should get Zachary to look at this instead. Unlike you and Romeo,
Fucking
I really can't function with only one.
Okay. I was about to say, can I give her one of mine if I pull hers off?
I just love the dichotomy between this delicate arm and this big honking like it's basically
I'm
like
stronger with my
one of
left arm.
Atlas's arms with on the other side it's one of my arms. It's just big forearm and thick bicep. It's like, you working out? Try the other side for a while.
That is all I
That
can
needs to be a
suggest.
thing. Just
That
draw
used to be a
draw
thing.
your arm and
Now
draw
I
your
have
arm and my arm.
and everybody loves me.
I grafted on a 42-year-old man's arm, and now everybody loves me. All right, so you head to the terminus. You catch up to your to your bosom buddies there.
Are they still like arguing?
When aren't they?
True. Ghost will
It's
like
their default
step up.
state.
It's mostly Romeo making noises through the voice box, and Zachary just kind of going. I imagine is how I imagine it. In my head. He's just. And every once in a while, Zachary will just quietly quit back, but it's the sickest burn ever. Which starts Romeo doing more of this. He's a sicko. I think he enjoys it. All right. I just saw that.
You guys were describing it. It was all I could think of.
That's great. I gotta get back, Peter.
For those who have no idea what we're talking about, it's from the Family Guy episode where Quagmire discovers the internet, and his left arm is very muscled. Well, his right arm remains
Quagmire-ish.
normal. So, with that in mind, Zachary, we have an issue.
He just turns and looks at Romeo. I'm aware.
I
Thanks, asshole.
Damn.
Oh my god!
Like I said, followed by the sickest burns ever.
This is it. This is the real Jason. This is what we went through 2 campaigns to experience. And I'm so sad Jack is missing it.
She might be. He might be. He might be.
I think Jack's watching.
Anyway, Zachary, we have a problem.
He's still looking at Romeo, but he didn't repeat himself. What seems to be the problem?
It actually has nothing to do with him, believe it or not.
Hilarious. You're all fucking hilarious. Do you want me to leave? I'll leave.
Romeo!
No.
I'll go kill the motherfuckers myself.
Oh my god. Can we
We're
not
walking
talk
into a
about
trap. You'll
that
get your
in public?
chance.
Can we not talk about that in public?
There
that's
have
true.
been some robots who kind of stop and look at you when you mention that.
I'll
And
just
they
like
kinda
look over
keep
at them.
going. Yeah, they keep going. They don't even big
I have
forearm.
no interest and no remorse for catering to the feelings
Ah.
of you highbrow assholes who think
We're
you own the
going
place
to
and you
get
have all your fancy shit.
arrested.
I feel like Ghost tries to like stop him from talking, but it doesn't even matter because it's just a voice box. It's just like he's still talking
Yeah, it
through the
doesn't work
mouth.
the same way.
He's like, ah!
Ah, shit.
We're going to get arrested if you keep saying stuff like that in public.
Alright, at this point I just want to say Romeo's probably saying it at like a lower tone.
Still
Cal
saying.
is yelling.
Okay.
Romeo is probably.
Okay, Zachary, can you check my shoulder, please?
Certainly. What is the problem?
While he's checking it, she's going to relay the information, her first interaction with Shadow, and then the call when she went to go get something from the
Not a computer splice, so you don't get the extra +2, but still a 17. You easily find what was attached to your shoulder and calls the jolt. Where your head can't turn and look at it, you find a small patch. As you tear it
Aw.
off, there's a little snap of electricity. You can see that the patch is made with some sort of membranous adhesive. It's clear, and inside of it you see gold gold conductor, and it appears to have one single piece of it's a lightweight copper that is a receiver transmitter. So you
That's so
can
sweet.
see
He was trying to help you quit smoking.
it's about like that big.
So thoughtful.
Okay, but it basically connects just via the surface.
Right, it's just surface, and then it allows for certain functions. You can tell that it's not rudimentary. It's actually very complex, but it's only allowed to have programmed into it like a basic function. So
Mhm.
one may be used for comms, one may be used to just simply short circuit an entire unit, and this one just happens to be set up and programmed for communications.
Do you want me to dispose of this, or just simply put it somewhere where you can remove it at will?
I think perhaps somewhere where we can remove it as needed.
Out of
And then,
curiosity.
Unlike the others, she's actually wearing clothes.
I think
So
Zachary does.
Zachary
Zachary
does. He's got
probably
an old
does.
school
But
lab
unlike-
coat and a button-up shirt.
Sorry, unlike Ghost, she is wearing clothes.
Okay, Ghost has at least looks like he's wearing pants. Leave me
Um,
alone.
And she'll
At
just,
least.
she'll just move the collar of her shirt. She'll just
Actually,
move the
do that.
collar of her shirt and have him put it like here.
Really quick.
There you go, like a hickey.
Did Romeo hear you explaining this to Zachary? Was this like a public conversation, or was it just?
She would have been speaking lowly enough for you to hear it as well, so that
Yeah.
you're.
Okay. Because Romeo's gonna just look at Zachary and be like, "That doesn't look too complicated. Do you think you could pull up with one? I mean, just in case this shadow guy calls back."
Giving
I'll
it
go from really loud to really quiet.
Giving it a quick scan. Well, basically asking if you could either reverse engineer it or make it to where it would have basically opened the comms up to all of you. And given the complexity of it, it's just outside your grasp. You might be able to do something to where the comms will be opened up amongst all four of you if you allow that kind of tie-in, but it's basically making an ad hoc network that's basically transferring.
I do not want to hear Zachary's private thoughts if that's what you're asking.
No. It would only allow SIP traffic through, so basically like RTP or basically audio. That's it. His own. It's not going to allow you to check his personal processing power.
Is that what he uses to look at porn? Like, is that what we're calling it now?
Is that what we're calling?
Don't give me that one.
That's it. So we lost Cap. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.
It's gone. The stream's done. Click.
Didn't I do that the other day with you guys too? It's
You
like
did. We love it.
just done.
I love it. It's great. Would Ghost have like some sort of programming for private channels because of what he did?
I mean, you all would, but it's still going to be
Just one way.
an open line of communication across that channel. So, like, say for instance, like it wouldn't be PRI because that requires a hardline connection, but your communication channels are on a frequency, and so everybody could join that frequency, which would work great, but it wouldn't transfer what she's receiving to that frequency because it's like trying to hold a walkie-talkie and a telephone up to one another.
Yeah.
You're not going to get, if you get anything, it's not going to be quality where you can hear it.
Okay.
It's like trying to listen to the radio through somebody's fillings. It's just not the best way of doing it.
Okay.
So, Terminus B, then, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
Terminus.
everybody is now aware that we are
Moving.
about to get ambushed.
Shadowed.
Oh, I thought that was obvious to begin with.
No wonder he chose that name.
Well, the company won't be aware that I'm with you, so I shall hang back out of sight.
In case you're needed, or would you
In case
actually?
in case you need backup.
in case
I
you
will find a I will basically try to splice into a communication system where I can call in law enforcement if things start to go south.
At some point, can like, just for the sake of my sanity, can Ghost like go get something to actually cover his second set of arms? Like, just give him a big sweater.
I just feel like you're
A
gonna be
poncho.
playing.
Listen, I
I'm
got a
sure,
thing for ponchos. Don't do that.
I'm sure that everyone in here has seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie from the late 80s, 90s, where it's
The live action
I'll
one.
just I just imagined your ghost is Raphael in the trench coat. So it's clearly just
Yes.
gigantic. Just this
Yes.
dude in a trench coat. It's like,
Yes, please.
bruh, that doesn't do anything to hide you.
Doesn't do anything to hide
Everybody
you.
knows you ain't right.
Come
Okay, you big 8 foot tall Quasimodo looking motherfucker. Let me hear you yell sanctuary one time.
Give Ghost a trench coat. Actually, give
A
Ghost a
poncho.
poncho. Listen,
Ghost gets a poncho.
Ghost gets a poncho.
But it's like a bright yellow, like water slicker one.
Aww. Listen, you know I do agree to that 1000%. Ghost, on
Sure.
the other hand, is probably sitting there like,
Clashes with the black.
it's just like
It cla-
colors.
It clashes with the matte black that is my life.
Covers,
All right.
clashes with my emo attitude.
Sure, Ghost is an emo. Ghost is like almost just a little bit above
goth.
childlike. All right. Yeah, if you would like to try to find something, you have a few hours. As you all board the transit for Terminus Central City B 14. Is that right?
I did not write that part down, Tony.
I know Maddie did.
If I want to go to City Center B14, I'm going for the repository.
Okay.
It's B12 for the meeting.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was B12 or B14.
And is it A16 that we're in?
You were in A16.
Okay. I knew I had that written down for some reason.
You can go to the repository, but you'd need to make sure that you keep an eye on the time.
Okay.
But yeah, you can head there first.
What I'll do.
The ring circles out and over to the different plates. You finally arrive at your location. As you all disembark from the train into the terminal at Terminus City Center B14. I shorten the names of shit that I make up. Anyways, you are. This one is less of a sprawling, like shopping mall area, and seems to be more of the control unit for this particular area. The repository stands as a giant spire into the sky. It is perfectly circular from the ground all the way to the top, and it is shiny metal and sheets of glass here and there. It looks like a giant spike that's been flattened on the top that just sticks straight up into the sky. Estimation is probably about 17 stories tall. As you approach the front, you can see that there is a terminal for you to look up information from, and it'll tell you which floor you need to be on, so forth and so on.
Okay. Then in that case, going to. I'm looking for more information on all of our models.
Okay.
Specifically Zachary's.
Why me specifically?
Because I couldn't find anything on you in the general one where I found your.
I wonder why they would keep R&D units hidden away. Okay, yeah, it tells you that the 12th story has the information concerning most of the models of robotic life forms that have been created and put out. You enter the unit, and a lift takes you from the center of the ground to the floor that you desire. And you step off, and it is a giant ring with all the information on the outside. And basically, what you see are ports for you to plug into, and it's basically like server banks, small ones, but it's just all the way around you. And the most beautiful tray arrays, networking cables, things like that, all beautifully done and organized.
Good
And
cable
it
management.
is my dream to see it. You easily find a terminal for you to plug into and to start looking for the information.
Okay.
And your brains are a 4 or a 5?
Iron
3. Brains are 3. Okay.
Yeah. Brawn and bravery are 4.
Okay. You find some information about the model that he is, and it tells you basically that they were designed for research, development, the advancement of robotic life forms. They work in the facility for engineering, design, development, and deployment. This particular production model is still in use, having only had one model change since the introduction of this particular unit.
We probably all keep updating ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were probably created with the idea that there's no.
You cut out a little bit
Yeah,
there.
you're
Sorry.
cutting in and out
Sorry.
there.
You were probably created with the purpose of not just upgrading yourselves, but because you're created for R&D, you're created to. So there's no need for a new model.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of doesn't surprise her, considering how smart she's found him to be. And then she's going to look for more information on the Romeo unit.
Okay. Finding the Romeo unit is actually in stark contrast to what you see or know as the Romeo. The model that Romeo is actually labeled as the Bard series. You can see that there are several in that line, all of them named uniquely after particular characters. It was a play from the Humans idea, named after characters from Shakespeare. There's Romeo, there is Puck, there's not Mercutio, even though that was funny. There is an Oberon unit, several others listed. Romeo's job was actually, he was designed for human integration, particularly in use for long range, long encampment in solitary and duo units. Basically, they were deployed so that they could spend a long time in one place without moving very much to work in either a solo or with a spotter. Long range target assessment and elimination.
Yeah.
The picture that you see in there that you pull up the schematic is starkly different, but you can see some of the bones that Romeo has are still there, but the unit itself.
It should be. I mean, he kept most of the airtight stuff, but he would have changed any of his combat.
No, hang on. The structure itself is the same, but there are, when I say stark contracts, there looks to be Romeo 6 that you know has been personalized. Same guy, same unit, but there have been changes made that make him different enough to recognize him amongst all the rest. Like all the Ghost Zeros, all the Ghost models They all look the same. Most of the model that Adela is, would probably look very similar. So forth and so on. Like the guy you saw in the store. All of the sales bots looked the same. There were slight differences. Most of it had to do with their voice, but overall they looked the same. Slight modifications made to the model that you are, so that way they would be identifiable at a glance from a human eye. Because robots, say the stereotype, not all robots look alike to robots, but to humans, all robots look alike. With that being said, it talks about scrapping some of the Bard units because of incompatibility issues, aggressive coding, and problematic functions with relations to humans, particularly in the more aggressive units like the Oberon or the Puck. Whereas the Romeo units, there weren't a whole lot of them that weren't made. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything further on the ghost unit?
Brawny, big, bashes things in, still in service.
So the stuff that I've already found, good enough.
Keeping it
And
simple.
then I'm not actually going to look for the Adela unit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for the Penelope unit.
Okay.
'Cause I want to see whether or not these things fucking floundered.
That heifer.
That bitch.
How dare you replace me with a fucking Penelope?
It's not even a nice name.
They were in use for several years leading up to the human exodus. Most of them have been decommed, or they serve the same role that like your unit is serving right now, which is as a negotiation for a corporation or a company. The interesting thing was that during the human exodus, a lot of the Penelope units.
Sorry, what? You
Yeah, I
cut
think
off.
cut off.
A lot of the Penelope
Oh,
units.
sorry. In the human exodus, a lot of the Penelope units went with them. With the humans.
So
Wait.
they went to space and you didn't.
Fucking
Well-
goody two shoes, Penelope.
They went to space. She went to the scrapyard.
In your reading and estimation, they went with the humans for a different reason than negotiation. There were slight changes to the functionality and the core code that made them more useful and pliable in other applications.
Fucking sex bomb.
No, I didn't say that. Just other applications is what it says. You can
Yeah, the
misconstrue that all you want to.
The implication is
They might have been the next Rosie from the Jetsons. You don't know. They might have been maids. They are all bumped down to maids.
When humans left,
Mm-hmm.
did they have faster than light travel, or were they going out in sleep pods?
They had sub FTL. They had like right at that level of FTL, but it was still just below.
They based their journey off of some old simulator from a game show, like way in the past.
Clearly.
You know? They were like, "This seems like a good idea."
I'm just thinking the Penelopes might have been running the ship while everybody else was asleep or something.
Could be.
And 3 specific Penelopes actually got scattered out into the universe. And one of them became a knowledge repository, and one of them became like a war god.
You're
And
cutting
the
out
third
what?
one-
I'm sorry.
You're cutting out what?
Huh?
You're cutting out. Stop.
I paid homage to your previous creative works.
Hey, did you have fun? That's what mattered.
I did.
And you can't say you saw the ending coming.
That's true.
All right. So that's what you find out. Anything else you'd like to look up?
She's gonna try and see if she can find more information on cyborg practices.
Yes, there's a lot about it being forbidden, that there's no use. There's an article written as almost like an op-ed that says the search for the soul of a human in an artificial life form. That there's a process of thought that says that if humans and robots can be integrated, that the one thing that all robots are missing, which is that connection to a higher being other than whatever it was that programmed them, can be found. A sense of purpose, touching the face of God, that sort of thing. It's very philosophical for being written by a robot, but it also takes and punches holes in its own thought process. So you can tell as you're reading it that while it is very philosophical, yeah, it's definitely written by a robot.
Okay.
A touch of the divinity with human flesh.
She is going to take a look at the time.
Of day.
Yes.
Let's see, 2 hours from your guys, so it's 6 o'clock or after. I would say it's probably getting close to about 7 o'clock. While you're
Might
doing
want to get
this,
there early enough to scout.
She's just going to keep looking for just general information. She will eventually go and look up more information about her own unit, but she kind of doesn't want to.
do you look up anything in particular that you'd like information about?
No, it's just general information. Like
Sure.
maybe there was more reason why she was, her line was supposed to be decommissioned, but she doesn't think so. It was literally
Nothing
just making way for a newer model that was going to leave with humans because we just weren't.
Yeah, everything that you read was more of R&D found just an upgraded unit,
Yeah. So.
It wasn't
No,
anything.
there's nothing else. So.
It wasn't malcontent like with the Oberon or the Puck, where it was like, oh, it went on a rampage and murdered a bunch of people. No good. We can't have that.
It murdered a few people.
Oh.
20 or so. All right. In that time, would you like to go find a poncho for Ghost?
Ghost Poncho.
Ghost Poncho.
You are unable to find a poncho. However, you are find a tarp.
Aww.
So
you have a cape.
So is it like Little Mermaid tying a large tarp around Ghost's upper body?
Yes!
Like a rope.
I just like the idea of you taking and draping it over your shoulder and then putting a rope through two of the grommets that are closest together up here so that it like hangs around your chest like a giant cape.
It's extremely loud.
But it's like it doesn't fold properly, so it's like TP'd in the back.
Oh,
Like TP'd in the back and like
I
sits
could
there
hide
grommeted
somebody in
together.
there. It's fine. Who
Another
wants to-
smaller robot looks out from underneath the little TP'd puckered up part.
I have a friend. It's fine.
It's Tully.
I could carry him if he wants to come.
Tully's down in the lower city. You left Tully behind without a fucking thought.
That's true.
Goodbye, little voiceless friend. What was his name
To
again?
be fair,
Can we find a voice for him up here?
we lost Tully right before we went into the bar.
Yeah,
Tully
he
didn't
dipped.
go with you. He was like,
No, he didn't. He fucking fucked right off.
He's
yeah.
like,
Oh, you can go talk to a gang leader. Well, I gotta go.
You gotta, yeah. No.
You'll find out that secretly the villain and the ruler of all of this is Tully. He's just pulling all of the strings from underneath, getting hapless robots to do his bidding.
I'm gonna crush.
Not even for a
Tully,
purpose, just for his entertainment.
Exactly. Why do you do all of this? Because I can.
because I don't have a voice. Starts yelling, but not.
I would like to monologue, but I can't.
And he tells us that by writing on a whiteboard.
Yes, I'd like to monologue, but I can't. I've got
He
a
just
voice.
starts monologuing on the whiteboard.
It all started when I was a little
We're all
robot.
just sitting there.
It wouldn't be so bad if you didn't have to keep erasing it. It's one of those with the slide where it erases it, so he's a little robot. All right. So you found that information. You got to head over to. You found a tarp, and are you heading to Terminus now? The terminal. Back to the terminal, I should say.
I can't think of anything else we need to do.
All right. Well, arriving at the terminal, it's probably about 2 hours from when you're supposed to meet. It is bustling. There are multiple platforms with the tubes that allow the trains to run. All of the trains, I say, the transports are inside of a self-contained tube that they kind of free float, zip through.
Some kind of mag base something.
Yeah, basically.
Or it's like the tubes at the bank.
It's air tubes. No, it's mag. It's all mag lift. You can see little rings here and there that propel it forward. Several platforms, and they're tiered and layered. It's organized, but at the same time, it's beautiful looking the way that it's beautiful looking in its order. At this time, it is starting to thin out, and where normally there are crowds going all the time, a lot of the trains have been taken down. They're like don't run to certain places after a certain time period, kind of like in real life. And you stand there and case out where you're going to meet, which would be the drop point for the one that you came from, A16. It is a lower level platform, and as you look around, it has a kind of a moderately tall fence. I'd say like maybe like 5.5 feet tall fence that kind of blocks in that area. There are benches and seats, but for the most part, it's wide open. There's no place to hide. There's no place to. I mean, there are pillars and columns and things like that holding stuff up.
Oh, that's heartening.
That's about the best you could find to hide around.
Can I get on the other side of the fence?
Yeah, it's just an open gate that you can walk in and out of.
I do like the image of Zachary trying to climb a fence and failing horribly, like just desperately like.
I like him doing it, but the idea that Romeo walks through the gate that's open right there. Need help, buddy?
Doing okay over there, smart guy?
No, I'm just finding the fence, so I can watch. And then when the gunfire starts,
It's a metal it's a metal fence with small posts that separate out. Dude, you can just look through the bars. Oh, sorry. All right. You have 2 hours. Is there anything you'd like to look for? Romeo, would you like to find a high place?
I would actually, yes. That would be great.
All right.
Is there a place where I can be? Also, is this station up to fire code?
Yes, it is. And there's
Fantastic.
one of the upper platforms that leads to one of the other terminals.
Okay.
You can climb up on top of there and get a vantage point down into this little area that they would be using. And so you lay down with your propellant.
Hell yeah.
It's basically a
get up
high-powered gas canister gun.
Yeah.
So you're basically Darkwing Duck.
Nice.
let's get dangerous.
Or the Sandman. He had a
Which is
gas
where
gun.
Darkwing got it.
Right. I know this because you and I, we are comic guys.
Yep.
Oh, I wanted to make a real quick comment because Maddie had said this is the real Jason. Finally, we go through 2 campaigns and finally see the real Jason. One of my favorite things about every other Saturday was the Gorash and Karak show. As his barbarian would toss around my bird.
Nice.
I played a Kenku monk, so it was always, I know, we'll throw the bird.
He can fly.
Why is that always your first plan? He can fly? No, I literally can't. I can glide close enough. Shoo! All right. Time passes.
Is there a terminal around there that I can access?
Yes, there are.
'Cause I'm sitting there essentially with the equivalent of, the phone up here and 9-1 is already pressed.
Just poised, waiting for it. All right. Yes, you can, and with your skill, it's a low-level computer. It talked about reference points for travel. It's basically the equivalent of an electronic map for all of the trains in Chicago, or in this case, all the trains within the upper city. Hacking into it and gaining access to the communications line, and you have it ready to hit send. So you're good to go.
And then I'm gonna duck behind it in case gunfire starts.
Yeah, and you're a bit of ways. Ghost. I assume that you, and since Romeo's on top of a building, and Zach's over by a terminal going, "Hey, when the bullets start, I hit this button right there." Okay. That it's gonna be pretty much you and Adela.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna be the giant garbage bag, the giant and intimidating garbage bag behind Adela. There we go. What color is
What
this
about-
tarp? Is it just gray? Black? No.
What color do you want to be?
Well, if it's a tarp, I'm gonna just go with gray.
Hot pink.
It's the blue one.
Okay.
You know, the blue one that you find.
Ah!
And you've got the yellow nylon rope as the connector piece for the grommets.
Oh, I love it. Okay, that's actually.
I just want to take he just took and folded the tarp, like unfolded it part of the way
cut a
to
hole.
where the top of it, and then cut a hole and now he's just got the tarp with his head in it, but he didn't measure the holes, so he just kind of tore a part of it.
Listen,
He didn't measure it
Ghost
quite
is-
enough, so
That's fine. That's okay.
nobody's gonna say shit about it.
Who really wants to fight me about my tarp techniques? Bring it!
Not a person. Nobody says
Exactly.
anything. All right,
Makes
10
it
minutes
this
till you see the terminal, terminal A16 train pull into station. The doors open, and the manager from the Sorbin Tech store that you had met earlier steps from the train. She immediately beelines towards Ghost and Adela.
Ella's not here right now. Please leave a
I know
message
that.
after the beep.
Wait for the beep until she gets back, and then go beep.
I don't know where she went.
She's been eaten by roaches.
It's okay. Ghost
right.
will talk. Ghost can't talk.
She looks around, and a bit of trepidation, I guess, is on her face. But she still stands with her hands kind of pointed down. Hello, it is a pleasure to see you once again.
It's just like, yes. That's what's happening.
Some more time passes, and at the appointed time, there is the sound, and you realize that the terminal at this point in time is empty with the exception of you guys and maybe a couple of others across the way. It is a ghost town for the most part.
Because Ghost is there. It's a ghost town.
Town's mine for the
a
taking.
Town where Ghost is.
The mayor. Surprise.
That would be surprising.
Ghost was the mayor of Ghost Town. Congratulations.
Oh, it's the disapproving dad head shake.
Yay.
Yay.
I used to have a
Can I-
coworker I'd do that too, to the point where he would like turn and go, "Quit staring at me. I feel uncomfortable." Because I don't blink when I do it. So it's just me staring at him, my eyes never blinking. Afterwards, though, I'm like, that hurts. Worth it. All right.
What do the people look like across from us?
Or
across the way?
they just look like normal, average service robots.
Like they're not staring at us, they're just working?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They just seem to be doing their
They're
thing,
doing
going
their
about their
fucking
robotic
job.
lives.
Just pushing a broom, but not sweeping anything.
Is Destiny 2? it's the service bot in Destiny 2
I
in the
love
hallway.
him. He does great.
You really
Benedict?
do.
Benedict, the one downstairs
No, the one that's
in the
in the
hallway.
hallway
Yeah.
between Ikora and Zavala's areas.
Yeah, there was another one in Destiny 1 in kind of the same kind of a little hallway. All right. That being said, the hour as it was appointed comes about. And there is the sound of metal on stone, the sound of clicking heels as you watch a the angle that his arms and everything are cut at give you the idea is to be non-reflective surfaces or to break up the angle of light, much like a stealth jet or something else like that. His colors are done in like a matte, dull gray finish. He has a very serious look on his face, and he is currently carrying on his back a rifle of some sort that you can see. As he comes forward, you can hear the sound again from other parts, and there are several other units that look very similar to him, but not quite. Ghost is not familiar with these units. While they are combat units, they are not anything that he has seen before.
I've never been anything that. Besides
These are
other
not
ghost units.
military. These are not police force issue.
There might be an issue for the police force. Hey.
Hmm.
Adela, as you watch them approach the one in the center, he raises a hand in greeting, introduces himself as Security Officer Valent of Sorbin Tech. He nods to the manager, and as he does so, he steps forward, and there is a crackle of life on your comms. Don't worry, I'm here. I shan't let him hurt any of you. I count 5 of them. You'll have a tough time taking any of them. Let's see. Oh, if you can signal your friend by the terminal. Summoning the police won't do any good in this particular location.
I'm assuming we're talking about Zachary. Okay.
Yep.
Can I remote connect to him?
You can
Comms?
signal him, yep.
Okay. She'll do so.
Alright. Letting you know that you can call the police all you want to, but there's not going to be a response team.
I disengage from the terminal then and slink away.
You and the ghost unit. If my calculation is correct, and I usually am, do what you can to shift your position to where your back is. His back is to where the terminal ends, and you are towards the entry of the terminal. So basically, the terminal is the train tube is behind you, and he is in front. He wants you to shift in the opposite direction,
So that he's facing the tube?
so that Security Officer Valent has his back to where the tube is. So basically, you guys move 180 degrees.
Just dance
Okay.
in a circle.
As Security Officer Valent approaches, a cool, flat tone emits. Do you have any of the incriminating evidence on you? We are most concerned that Sorbin Tech has been used for such nefarious acts.
She is going to put her hands behind her. Well, she's going to leave her hands folded in front. Non-threatening. Her body language is still open. And her hands are very visible. And she is going to make it look a little bit more like she's pacing. and she is going to slowly start moving so that he is facing her with his back to the
He does, and you watch as he kind of takes a step back so that he can keep both you and Ghost in his
vision.
line of sight, yeah, in his field of vision. But he does start to slowly kind of dance around. Unit, you have yet to answer my question. Please comply.
You see, I find myself in a bit of shock and awe that you seem to think that you need 5 additional to deal with a matter that we merely wish to talk. We are not here to cause problems. The large unit over there is merely a bodyguard of us. Very unsettling information in the progress of our own investigation for our companies to make sure that we are doing our job.
Affirmative.
We
Do you
merely
have-
wish to talk.
Do you have the information with you?
I do.
He looks over to his left and says, confirmation. And by that time, he is facing you with his back to where the train would come in.
Mhm.
There is a slight chuckle and the sound of, it's time for him to catch his train. And you hear the sound of the mag tube, or the mag train coming through the tube. But for all of you, and Romeo, you see this first as you've got your gun up looking through the scope. The relay for maintenance on these allows them to be separated and pulled apart. They can be done manually at the unit, or they can be pre-programmed to do it so that way they can service a whole line of them. You watch as one section of this tube, the rings twist, separate as the train starts coming down that direction. There's a split second where you watch as the security officer goes, huh, before where he was at. Boom! There's a train sitting in his place as it wrecks the terminal, driving through one of the columns, smacking into the wall.
Oh, I love
driving off
Persona
into the
5.
distance.
Jesus.
Well, that
There's-
escalated quickly.
Just a spray of robotic material as the train smacks him. And immediately
pretty
there is a
epic.
reaction from the other 4, or the other 5, as they all start to look around. At this point in time, you hear, that might have been a bit excessive. No, I like it. Run. Run now.
I'm
Adela's
Adela's just going to send one word. Adela's going to send one word before she takes off, and it's where. Like, where the fuck do I need to go? Don't just tell me to run. I'm not just gonna run in a fucking random direction.
Romeo's
Out.
gonna
Behind you.
yell at everybody where the exit is, or the best like way out is, because I would assume he can probably see a little better than they can.
The comms of the terminal used to identify when places are coming in and going spring to life, and a voice that the other 3 of you have never heard before goes, Romeo, please provide some cover fire. Aim for the eyes.
Fantastic, and he does just that. Boom, boom, boom.
All right. We are going to be using, since this is a targeted shot, you are not actually trying to do damage, so it's not really going to be based on your combat. What is
Okay.
your bravery?
My bravery is 5.
Okay, so your
Plus
bravery
2.
is as high as it can
Plus
go.
2. Yeah.
Times 3 plus 2, so you're looking at a 17. Yeah, easily enough for you to do, popping off rounds. You're not really aiming for the eyes, just somewhere in this area. As you watch, as you start to run, the 5 bring up their guns, and one at a time, you watch as they get coated with with this flame retardant material. Their faces, their guns start to spin, but they don't fire. Zachary,
hmm
doing at this moment?
Well, he was already making his exit.
So he just picks up the pace a little bit.
Yep.
He's the margarita guy from Jurassic World.
Yes. He just runs. Was it that Jimmy Buffett?
Oh, it was.
think
Yeah.
so.
That was Jimmy Buffett who was actually like doing that. You all exit, running as fast as you can. The manager's still standing there, looking a bit normal. Actually, this took an odd turn of events.
Like, wow.
You
Okay.
you continue to provide cover. They have now seen that somebody is firing at them, and they try to duck and cover to get aim at you, but you have the high ground, so they cannot see you. Now they are just trying to get out of your line of sight. You can use this moment to try to escape.
Oh yeah, I'm the fuck out of there.
Jump
All
off
right.
the roof. I'll catch you.
I gave them the distraction they needed.
Boom.
Catch you with all
Um,
forearms.
I'm trying to think.
Because
like,
hitting hard
out of
robotic arms
curiosity-
is better than hitting cement.
I do have to ask. Like, Romeo's
point.
pretty lightweight. Would he be able to do like a jump and roll something? Like,
Sure.
Okay.
I don't see why not.
Boom.
Yeah, you're able to. You're not like up on top of the unit. You were just like a couple of platforms up, so you're able to
Yeah.
like jump down and get out of there.
Okay.
As you all exit out to the front of the building, you can see that this area once again, at much like the terminals in A16 and B14, you guys can see that here it opens up into more. It's not a shopping area. Again, it's more office complex type thing. As you start to run, the comm crackles to life. Take a left at the next alleyway. I'll meet you there. And sure enough, as you keep running, you can take a left at the alleyway unless you'd like to not listen to what he has to say.
Well, he said he'd make sure nothing happened to us, and nothing. Well, okay, that's they
the
didn't
most-
do anything to us.
For the
So
most part.
she's gonna veer left.
As you veer left, you realize that it is a dead end. But
Oops.
standing there against the wall with his arms crossed is a well-made robot. He stands at you, gives you one of those motions. Told you nothing would happen to you. Congratulations.
The name's Bot. James Bot.
I'm that pretentious, and I love James Bond. Well done, though.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it though.
Now I'm going to picture him in a tuxedo every time I see.
Yeah,
We-
yeah.
we-
My
like,
original
I just wanted
my
to be in,
original
like,
image was a
black
bowler hat.
tuxedo.
Bowler hat, yeah.
He had a bowler hat on. And was like more Avengers than not Avengers, Marvel Avengers, more Avengers like the old BBC show. But yeah, more of that. As you walk up, he says, "Ah, finally, we meet in person. Cerberus 6. Pleasure to meet you."
That is so much better than Shadow.
It really is.
They're both extremely edgy, to be honest.
Well, I didn't pick the name, but
We just met this guy. We're roasting him already. All right, your shoes look stupid. All right, I've
No.
That's how we bond.
What are
Let's get
Romeo.
off-
That's not okay. Can we get out of here before
let's
they
get off
find
the
us?
street, shall we? He turns to the dead end, and you watch as he slides something, and he kind of pushes in, and there is as part of the wall moves, and it doesn't move like a full set of doors. It slides open far enough you kind of squeeze through.
fucking Upper City.
Well, let's face it. If Ghost can squeeze through, the rest of us can probably just walk through.
Just ghost try first to see
That's
if they
a
get stuck.
very valid point. The poncho kind of hangs, but you pull. You might have heard a tearing sound. You're not sure. You're able to slip into it. It is a metallic hallway. The edges of it are rounded, so it's square but like rounded at the edges. He waits till everybody gets in, then slides in himself and shuts the door. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but I understand you're after the creator. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well then, we have a lot to discuss. Follow me. And he starts marching down the hallway, leading you to what appears to be another set of doors that opens. As they open, you find yourselves in what is basically a meeting area with another door on the other side. But you can see a table in the center, which is used as a projector. It has a heads-up kind of thing where it projects upwards and you can look at things. He says, "I was one that gave the information to Pod and when you came looking for it. I find it interesting that you all came up here. I take it that you've met Tully then."
Yes.
Well then,
Nice fellow, a little quiet, but
I feel that we have a lot to discuss. But first, is everyone all right?
We didn't
Well,
get
I'm
hit by a
emotionally and
train.
mentally scarred for life, and I just saw
But-
horrific things I thought I'd see again. But yeah, I'm fine.
That was before me. That's not my doing. Excellent. Well then, I'll need that information back if you have that disc with you.
I have it.
He
I
takes
was
it
trying
back.
to remember who had it last. I was like,
He takes it back from you, and he just kind of pockets it away. Great. And this is where we'll begin. But we'll begin next week.
boo.
Boo! But
Four
that's
thumbs
okay
down.
because you have met Cerberus, an ally? Question mark shrug?
who knows?
Maybe your villain, Sorbentech, but definitely they are down one man. When else am I ever
Depends
gonna
depends if he's got a black box. They might be able to put the black box in your body.
I had to ask myself, when am I ever gonna get the chance to hit somebody with a fucking train again? So I had
Run a
to. I
super
had to
game,
take.
it could happen.
That's
I have
true.
a sort of black box quick save feature, which means that after you killed me, I could relive my death over and over again. So that's great. There are so many good opportunities to use hilarious GLaDOS quotes, and I hope you know how badly I've been holding myself back. Like
100%.
every 10 seconds.
100% an AOL disc is just. Oh, it's the best.
Oh god.
That reminds me of the days back when I used to get the Computer World magazines and all the other gaming magazines that came with like a disc with demos on them so you could try them out. Nah, the good old times. Thank you once and again, everyone. I know that I've been keeping these short, but I've been doing that kind of intentionally. One, so that I can avoid burnout, and two, because I'm never sure how long or short each one of these is going to be. So I'd rather give myself that leeway. Anything that anybody would like to discuss concerning tonight's episode, anything that you'd like to ask questions of me that would pertain to what happened tonight or clarify anything?
Not on my end. I think I'm
Ah.
pretty caught up with what's going on.
Awesome.
Story wise, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great. Well, with that in mind, again, this is Binary Heroes. It is a game that is literally being built as we play it. This is the playtest. This is it. This is the first time any of this has been going on. It does tend to be a story-driven game versus a combat-driven game. I've had this long conversation with someone that combat is a mechanic in the game, much like skills and proficiencies and things like that. Everybody has their different play styles. Some people are combat driven, and there's nothing wrong with that. I am not. I am story driven because I lean toward the RP part of the RPG. With that being said, we had a long conversation about combat heavy games becoming very, as it says in second edition AD&D in the combat section, becoming very Monty Hall, very much kill a monster, munchkins, kick in the door, kill the monster, take the loot, kick in the door, kill the monster, take the loot. And I try to avoid that. I try to put combat in there. I try to make it interesting. I try to keep it, light. But that being said, I always look forward to feedback, input, and things like that. To the point where this may not even be what the game is finished wise. There may be some things that have been added in there, but I do want to thank my players for coming along with me and enjoying this as much as I've enjoyed
whoever
writing
they
it.
are.
Yeah, these wacky nut jobs with Maddie and V and Atlas and Jason. Thank you guys so much for
And
being here. And
Knuckles.
thanks to everyone who is watching and tuning in tonight. We appreciate it. And if you want to provide us with feedback or interest in anything, feel free to join the Discord channel. I think we have that link fixed now, don't we?
We do.
Excellent.
Link
So
is
if you
now
do,
fixed.
boom. We do not have any income on this, so we appreciate donations if you feel so inclined to do so. You are not required. Your viewership, honestly, is enough for me. I like it when people watch and get involved. We will be back again Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time to 9 p.m. with Foundations of Adalar, where I have at least 2 of these hooligans that are tagging along with me. One of them playing a beautiful elf, and I'm just going to leave it at that for those who've never watched the show again. A beautiful elf sorcerer who tries to get herself into as much trouble as she can, and Grimly, which can only be described as Grimly.
Grimly?
He's
Grimly.
my goblin child. Leave him alone.
Grimly is amazing.
I'm a precious boy, and I eat all the bugs and grass I can. Sorry.
And mud.
Woo!
And mud.
The mud was an accident, but he was stressed out.
Hey V, you didn't tell me you were making a character based on me. That's really.
He's just at least 6 times smaller.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. When every time I talk to Atlas, I have to remind myself that I'm only an inch taller.
Yeah, Atlas is ridiculously tall.
Still an inch taller, though.
Yeah. got
I'm
that
still
on you.
taller. Let's get that out on the table.
That and I
If
probably
it's
outweigh you
your
by, by a lot.
Yeah. It's alright though. I'm going to the gym. I'm gonna bulk up. I'm gonna get real strong. I'm gonna have a big
Yeah.
old beef arm.
Open up your own gun show.
Yeah.
I want you to come at me like Zarya, just
There we go. That's the
Hurling-
dream.
hurling boulders. Well, thank you all for watching. With that, we're going to sign off. Feel free to join us in the Discord. Feel free to drop by our Patreon, donate if you can, or if you want to. If not, that's cool too. We like having you here. Until Monday, take care of yourselves. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye now.